You are now listening to Bullhook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Bullhook Golf, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cook, and tonight I got a really special guest. We are wrapping up the year with the final team member for the team series, my golf instructor, Mr. Mike Krahe. Welcome to the show, man.
What's up? Happy to be here.
Yeah, dude. So finally we got a chance. We're actually in the DryveBox right now. Out in Gilbert, Arizona. It's the Phoenix DryveBox. And man, Mike, tell me, I mean, is this thing sweet or what?
This place is cool.
Isn't
yeah,
it?
it's awesome. There's tons of room, padded. The sound is awesome. Like, it's great.
I told Adil, the CEO and founder of DryveBox, I was like, man, I used to install golf simulators into multi-million-dollar houses, and it feels like when you step in here, it's like stepping into a multi-million-dollar house.
I haven't been in one, but the acoustics are awesome in this. So, yeah, I love it.
It is really cool. I've been training out of here. I've been playing in some TrackMan tournaments and so forth. But let's go ahead and get started here because
wait, backtracking, man. You've been playing the TrackMan tournaments in here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
Hook it up to the internet, get the camera set up, and basically record everything. Haven't been successful yet, but as we were talking off air just beforehand, we've been working on a lot of stuff together in terms of my swing and making some major changes to get it ready for the next level. And sure enough, I am the best 9 handicap right now. I can take anybody down. If you want to come at me with a 9 handicap, and a real 9 handicap, not like sandbagging or anything, but like right now I'm a solid 9, and I don't think anybody can touch me, but I'm very consistent with it too.
Yeah, we got to drop that down.
We're going to bring that down for sure. But Mike, let's start off with your journey, man, because we've got something in common. That's how we got connected through actually, it's funny. We've got a middleman between when I played at Grand Canyon University to when you played, which we missed each other.
Yeah.
You're a little bit younger than I am. And so Terrence Daniels, shout out to you, buddy. But good old TD, he's like, hey, man, are you looking for an instructor? Because I was telling him some of the stuff that I had going on and everything. I really wanted to get back into playing a lot more. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I got the guy for you. This guy, Mike, down at Raven. And I'm like, hang on a second, tour striker? He's like, oh yeah, you gotta meet him. So I reached out to you. We started working together, but Grand Canyon University, we both played on the golf teams. So let's start off with your journey, man. I mean, when did you get into golf?
So I played a little as a kid, 7, 8, probably something like that. Junior golf, folks just put me in it. I have some little trophies from JGAA, but none of my friends play. We football, baseball, basketball, so I didn't have anyone to play. I really didn't play much from probably 10 to 14, maybe. I wouldn't say like I didn't play, but it was maybe a couple times a year. Just kind of got put on the back burner.
Did you play other sports?
Yeah, so played a lot of travel soccer, did some Olympic development team with that. Played football kind of from 5 to 15. Travel baseball, typical kid stuff, right?
Sure.
Played a year of hockey. That was a joke, but it was terrible. Martin will love that. But, yeah, it's I say Martin Chuck runs Tour Striker, if you're not familiar with him. But, yeah, he's a big hockey junkie, so we talk hockey all the time. But, yeah, that was a mess, me playing hockey. But, yeah, played just about everything I could growing up. But not much golf. Grew up, actually, we lived on a golf course in Flagstaff. Nobody in my family played. Parents didn't play anything like that. My dad was big, throw us into every sport he could. And I think playing other sports, having an older brother, picked up golf pretty fast. I could hit it fine right away, but nobody else played. So off to the back burner. Picked it up late. Let's see, when I was going into my junior year, we got a high school team. Kathy Keatzer, shout out. She was the high school PE teacher. She started a golf team.
Gotta love that, folks.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. Like 2 days before tryouts, you just said Orange Tree. I came down here with a pal and shot 103 at Orange Tree.
That's fantastic work. I did that at Quintero.
So that was like me starting up, and I'm like, all right, I got to do these tryouts. So next day, 9-hole tryout, shoot 39. I think I shot like 41 the next night. So I make the team, right? Just like new and back into golf. And I messed with Martin about this. My folks got me this, it was a yellow shaft, David Duvall. It was a training aid.
I know that one, the Momentous, yeah.
Momentous, right? So I get this, I got a Golf Digest, I get Tiger Woods cut out of like all his swing sequence. And my parents had this big bay window in the living room. So at night, that turns into a mirror, right?
Sure.
So I got the reflection. And I would just have those laid out, and I'd use that Momentous. And, Medicus? No, it was Momentous.
No,
yeah.
it's Momentous.
And I would just swing that thing. And literally by the end of my junior year, I win conference, shoot like 400 at conference, like top 10, top 15 in the state. Like so within a year, pretty much like dropped 20, 30 shots. So I joke with Martin with his 11 training aids, like that, that one took the most off.
You do got to love the Tour Striker training aids.
Oh, God.
I mean, you guys are popping those out like hot candy over there.
Oh, Martin's he's a genius with those. And, the volume is so much, and he's so creative, and it's been just, it's been an awesome environment to learn from, because I can duct tape anybody. I can do what, there's been lots of times I've taken hands and just duct taped them on a club, or I go in the studio and just make anything, whatever it calls for, right, to get somebody to be able to learn differently. And as a result, like over the years, all these training aids have developed, right? And so yeah, it's
you got one
it's
coming
been
out to the
super
market
fun.
though, don't you?
Yeah, so that's funny. I don't know. I actually don't even know where it's at in the market. I don't even know what he's doing with it, honestly. But yeah, so shitty grips, right? Like that's golf pros' nightmare. That's 90% of
That's your hands on the clubs, folks.
That's like
it's your hands on the clubs.
In the palm, like club running up through your palm as the club comes into you. Just no leverage on the club at all, no control over any of the torque on it. And so, yeah, so I just one day we had an old glove. I went home, I cut a golf ball in half, and I sewed some Velcro onto the glove, sewed it onto the back of that, stuck it on there, so they couldn't put a grip right there anymore. So they had to hold it in their fingers more, right?
How about
and
that?
And then Martin, as genius he is, he like put some extra additions to it, and it's pretty cool now. But I actually don't know where it's at in the process, but it's nice when somebody comes in with a shitty grip, I can throw that on them in a golf school setting and know that if I leave them to go to somebody else down the bay, like they're going to be all right for a little while, right? And that's a big deal.
I love that. So how'd you end up at Grand Canyon University?
Grand Canyon. Well, cheers, by the way.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Cheers. Good old Bushwood, by the way, folks. We got the Bushwood. Thank you for getting this out to us, one of our episode sponsors tonight. This is the Bushwood Front 9, by the way. The black label, age 7 years.
Good stuff. Yeah,
I mean, this is
sweetness in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Just be the ball, it says on the bottle. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, by the way, folks, Pull Hook. Use promo code Pull Hook in order to get 10% off your Bushwood Spirits order. Okay?
Awesome. Canyon. How'd I end up
Grand
at Canyon?
Canyon. Yeah, how'd you end up at Grand Canyon University?
How much time do we have here? So I'm like the perfect model for a journeyman. Okay, so it's like late to getting back into golf. Did really well. So you think, okay, so junior year I win conference, do well in state. So now I'm like thinking, okay, maybe I can do this in college, right? Senior year comes around, win, I don't know, 70% of the 9-hole matches. I think I had like a 36.4 scoring average, so it was good 9-hole, right?
Yeah, not bad.
And but I had a terrible regional, and because our team wasn't that good, we didn't go to state. And so two of the guys in my region, one, Billy Hoyt.
Oh, yeah, I know
So
Billy.
Billy played at Payson. Another guy named Stephen Cook played at Mingus, it's Northern Arizona. And then my cousin's wife's brother, Clint Olson, all three of those guys tied for first at state that year, my senior year that I didn't get to be there, right? So here I am. It's like, I feel like I was playing good, did well all season, and I couldn't get a single offer conversation with anybody, right? And so I put some packages together, tried to get in, basically just got snubbed, right? So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to play, right? So applied at U of A, applied at ASU, get into both, had a dorm at ASU, was going to go, and about maybe 3 weeks before, I'm like, man, wish I would play. I think I was playing Tiger Woods on 2004 on PlayStation, right?
Great game.
That was the before they took the spin off, when you could spin it in the air. That was pretty fun. You get 18 under easy every time. So I decided I want to play. And so I'm thinking, all right, how can I do this? Buddy of mine was living in Glendale at the time. And he goes, I got an extra room. So I call the coach at Glendale Community College, and I go, look, I want to play. Like, I just won Flagstaff City Championship. I did this and this, right? Like, and he said, well, I can't give you anything. There'll be like 45 guys trying out. If you want to come try out, you can, right? So I do. I make the team. And I didn't really do a ton most of that season because he had me make some changes that he wanted me to make. And it started to solidify towards the end of the year. As you know how changes are, right?
Take some time.
And by the next year, by my sophomore year, then I earned a scholarship and took first in a tournament at Papago, honorable mention in national. Like, we made it to nationals. I think we took 5th in the nation that year. So it was a great year, right?
Great year.
And again, like after that year, no conversations with any colleges beyond JC.
Oh,
Reached
man.
out to a few, nothing. My coach knew a couple guys. Like, I went a couple recruiting trips, but out of state, but they wouldn't offer me anything, just a chance to play. And I'm like, I guess it's not in the cards again, right? So again, like, other buddy is moving to Lake Havasu City. He's like, I got my bass tracker out here. Come out here and we'll fish every day. So I went from, what did I do? I think I was just taking I'm at a loss of words. When you're just taking classes and you don't have a major, what the hell's that?
Oh, God. What is that?
I don't know.
I don't even
I'm just
know.
basically taking
We're
prereqs,
golf
right?
people.
Taking prereqs. Towards the end of my 2 years, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be a business major, right? So I've got a couple makeups to do because I wasn't on the right course. So I'm like, all right, I'll go live with my boy for 6 months. I'll just take some classes, finish this nonsense up, right? Fish every day was awesome. Got a job at Arnold Palmer course there, the Refuge. It was great. Got to play a bunch, fished in the morning, worked, played in the afternoon. Shot 62 out while I was out there, and the owner was like, hey, will you represent the course and play in this Colorado River Pro-Am? I'm like, all right. So I shoot 67, win that. It's just like a one-day deal. And then, of course, like, play well, win something. I'm like, okay, I can still do this. So I wanted to try to play in college after that, and moved back and called Keith Baker and said, look, I want to play. Can I walk on? So again, here I am in the same scenario.
Was Keith the golf coach or the athletic?
Coach.
Okay.
He was the coach at that time.
Same.
So same kind of deal. Like, look, I can't give you anything. You got to sign up for school. You got to pay your own way. But if you make the team, you can come.
Yeah.
So same kind of deal. Tried out, made the squad. Between him and Mark Chandonnet, like,
Oh, yeah.
I had some changes that I was going through that year again. So it was like another rebuilding year, right? But started to find form by the end of the year. So then comes senior year, get a scholarship. Mark gives me a scholarship. Start playing much better. And yeah, played pretty well. We went to nationals again that year. I don't think we finished 15th or something, but that was the year Terrence, Bentley, some of the guys you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's just kind of been, I'm like your journeyman, right? Like, just wanted to do something and went after it, I guess.
Absolutely love that, because in a lot of ways I was a journeyman myself. I mean, coming from starting golf at 13 years old, varsity team in 9th grade. That was the first year my parents, I had to fight them tooth and nail just to be able to play golf and give up football.
Yeah.
I'm 125 pounds in 9th grade. I'm like 5. And in ninth grade, I sprouted. But in 8th grade, I was probably about 5'4".
Okay.
Then I sprouted to 5'11" out of nowhere over a summer. And I'm just like, I'm going to get murdered, because I used to get murdered in 8th grade. Kids would pick me up, slam me down like The Undertaker. I remember this one kid, Jesus, I thought I was going to be brain dead after he hit me. And so I'm just like, football's not my sport. And granted, my dad played college football, so he was brokenhearted on that one. And then sure enough, I'm like, okay, let me play golf. And they're like, no. They're like, it's too expensive. Nobody in our family plays golf. And so sure enough, I finally convinced him, make the varsity team in 9th grade.
Nice.
And then from there, it just every year I was getting better. And then finally by my senior year, I was something, and we ended up winning the state championship and so forth.
I didn't know
and
that.
so
Congratulations.
in upstate New York. So from there, Now a quick word from our sponsor. Swannies is here with a fresh take. Performance-based materials are a given these days. But if you're looking for the stretchiest and most lightweight pieces that deliver a look that says, I'm here for a good time, take a walk on the Swannies side. With fabric sourced from recycled plastics and designs sourced from our very own weekend warriors, Swannies is looking out for both our planet and those that need a little style to boost their drive another 15 yards. Premium looks from top to bottom at swannies.co. I mean, I was all over the place. My first 2 years were actually in Virginia at a school called Bridgewater College.
Okay.
And then I transferred out to Grand Canyon University.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, I was in contact with the coach at ASU, and he's like, hey, we're stacked.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, there's probably not going to be a spot for you, but there's this great school that has this great golf program that's going on right now called Grand Canyon University. Reach out to Keith Baker, and sure enough, that's how I ended up at and I wanted to be in Arizona. So I was like, no, I've got to be in Arizona. I want to play. So sure enough, yeah, we've got a similar. I didn't even realize you were. Yeah,
that's
cool.
Now, in case you guys didn't catch that, there was a WWF reference in there. With
oh,
Undertaker.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I had a guy at the school the other day. Threw some Stone Cold references at me, and I was pumped. There's our intern's like 20. No, he's 19. No idea. WWF. Yeah, I think it's WCW now.
No, it's WWE now.
Oh, WWE.
Worldwide,
Worldwide
Wrestling Entertainment.
That's right.
Remember the Wildlife Federation came after them and sued them for WWF?
Oh, my God. WCW,
you gotta love this
right.
world.
I had that on N64. WCW versus NWO.
Oh, man. Oh, absolutely. I was obsessed with wrestling games for a long time.
It was the best because we'd go practice the moves on the trampoline, right? Me and my boys. Spinning neck breaker, choke slam. Yeah, that was back in the day.
That's dope. So tell me, when did it all of a sudden hit you that you're like, all right, I've become this high-level collegiate golfer. Now it's time for me to go into golf instruction. I mean, was there always kind of that itch for golf instruction? Was there something about it that you just wanted to turn that into a career or what?
Yeah, no, not at all. To be honest, I would say I was a lot like most 19, 20, 21-year-olds that had no idea what I wanted to do. So going to Canyon, picked a major in psych. Didn't think I was going to get a job in psych. Just was interested in. My parents were super cool. It was like, my dad was Vietnam helicopter pilot, played football at NAU years ago. So he was always kind of like one foot in front of the other, put your head down, go downhill. Like everything was always just keep moving, keep positive momentum, right? So he didn't care. Like as long as I just kept moving forward, just explore what you're interested in. So, I took all these classes. Like I sucked at accounting when I was in business. I'm like, I can't keep doing this. And then the psych ones were interesting to me. And I think probably through golf at that point, it was like most people, look, I got some good rounds. I can shoot some rounds in the 60s and then I might shoot in the high 70s. So I must be a head case. So if I learn about the psychology, I'm going to be better, right? Not, hindsight. I just had a swing that had to have perfect timing to make it work. Right. And so that was more of a cop out that it was psychology than anything else. But yeah, I think that probably drove some of it.
That's right. I always forget you're a psychology major. Is that right?
Yeah. So undergrad in psych, master's in sports psych.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of it. That's funny. You're always trying to improve, right? So sometimes I'm always saying if I can be honest. And I always think that's such a weird statement. Like, nobody ever asks you not to.
It's like, wait, are you going to lie all the time and you're being honest right now?
Yeah.
I got a buddy who's a lawyer who's like, because I use that quite a bit, especially when I used to be in sales. I'm like, hey, to be honest with you, it's just like you're trying to emphasize a point.
Yes.
And so it often comes out that way. But he's like, are you telling me that you're normally not honest with me? And I'm like, no, I'm normally honest with you. He's like, then stop saying to be honest. I'm like, it's tough.
So that's one of the things I'm trying to cut out. But yeah, my dad was a Vietnam helicopter pilot. He had pretty bad PTSD growing up, and so it was often a really crazy place to be growing up. Could be like a light switch on and off. And so I'm sure that some of my interest in that was trying to figure out what the hell was going on, like just with people, right? And I think it was it was easy enough to know that no matter what I did, I was going to be dealing with people. And if I understood them better, I was going to be good, right? So that's what I did. And then got out of college, and it's like, well, shit, I can't get any job with a psych degree, even though everybody told me that. So why not get another one? And I knew I wanted to be in sports. I always admired coaches. And so, yeah, I went, did a master's program in sports psych, which was totally cool. But again, you get out and it's like, I could be a sports psychology consultant. I could have stayed for 10 more credits and been a counselor, but it was more just like I looked at things differently than I used much of that education, right? And pretty soon after that, I read, I love reading and learning stuff, so I've always been a big reader. I came across one of Vision 54's books. So Vision 54 is a golf school that's centralized here in Arizona, Lynn Marriott P. and Nielsen. And I read this book, and I was like, it was a little sunshine and rainbows for me, to be perfectly honest. Glass kind of always half full, but much better than the glass always being half empty, right? And so anyways, I don't remember if I called them or I sent them an email. I'm like, yo, I loved your book, da-da-da. Like, I'd love to work with you. I just got out of grad school kind of thing, right? And so, yeah, they said, come on out. You can join the team. Like, so kind of lucked out there.
Wow.
Gig
Yeah.
for that. Started with
synchronicity there.
Yeah. So started with them, and I guess, once I saw them, and it's funny, like my first school, I think Kevin Strumman was working with them at the time.
Okay.
But my first school was like, there's probably 14 to 17 people. There must have been 5 tour players in the crowd, in the school, with like 5, 10, 20, and 30 handicap. Like they're just mixed in with them, right? Because the psychology side of it's like, it's low-hanging fruit. People are just, there's not a lot of head cases. There's just really people that are unaware and they're untrained.
Yeah.
And so you've got tour players just learning basic skills that 20, 30, 10 handicappers are learning, right? And so it was, my first experience like being at a golf school was, here's these tour players, here's these other players. None of them are even working on their swing, and they're all getting a ton better. I was like, this is super cool. Like, I really like this. Right, so I did about 3 years with them. My daughter was born, my firstborn was born in my 3rd year, so it was a little spotty in the second half of that season. But spent about 3 years with them, and it was cool. I did their like coach training, was there. They'd start letting me take groups out. Like it was pretty legit. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think somewhere in that time was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. I could do this. And then when I went over to join Martin at Tour Striker, that's when it was like, shit, this doesn't even work. Like, I want to do this. So that was really when I knew I wanted to do this for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. I mean, when all of a sudden it hits you like that, because I've been in that situation in golf previously, golf technology, and then in playing, and then in this podcast. It's like when those things just click and you're like, oh, hang on a second. I want to do this for the rest of my life. Yeah. I mean, that's where it really, you've matched purpose with passion.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It was everything I want to do, and I want to put all my free time into is right here. Right? And so that was cool.
That is cool. Now, let's talk a little bit about our relationship in a way where we've been working together for a little while now. As I mentioned at the beginning of this,
pretty good over there.
Listen, I hammer through these.
Okay.
I get used to going down, and all of a sudden I start realizing I'm like, hang on a second, I'm done with an entire. You got. Doesn't matter if you're bad, you just got to play quick, folks.
I got you.
That is.
I'm on board with that.
That is the name of the game. But in terms of when you work with somebody like myself who has a goal in mind, because not every day. Somebody comes in and they're like, hey, this is my goal. This is where I want to get to. This is what I want to do. These are the timelines. This is everything going on. I would imagine, because I've been a golf instructor myself in New York City, and a lot of times you're just like, I just want to get better. I'm sure you deal with that, especially with the golf schools and everything. But, I mean, how different is it when all of a sudden you have somebody that has goals, aspirations, how you go about what you do.
It can go a couple ways. Everybody, for the most part, comes in thinking they know what they need and know what they want. And I would say that it's important for myself or any professional, in my opinion, that they do their best to honor what the player is looking for, right? So if I go to the doctor and my knee hurts, I don't want him to tell me about my blood pressure.
Your blood pressure's awful.
Right? Or, I got a cavity and dentist wants to clean my teeth. Like,
yeah, you hate to
this
see
is
it.
what hurts,
Yeah.
right? So, if they come to me and there's something that's bothering them, they're the paying customer. I want to try to do my best to help them with what they need. Now, that being said, they don't always know what they need.
Valid.
Okay.
Case in point, folks. Because let me interject for a second,
Yeah,
because
please.
when I came in and I'm like, let's get the biometrics done, let's take a look at how the body's moving and everything going on, you had that tough conversation with me to where you're like, hey, do you want to really get to that next level? Because if so, it's going, like, we have to break this down and we have to start working on some stuff to where you're going to suck for a little while. We're going to take 2 steps back before we start moving forward again. And I didn't hesitate. I was just like, yep, we got to do what we got to do. So that's a testament to what you're saying right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And, here's the thing is that's typically the response. And I think you probably questioned that response at one point.
Listen, I have questioned that response ever since I made that decision, because I'm like, oh, how bad could it really be? And then all of a sudden I became this amazing 9 handicap from a scratch golfer to a 9 handicap. And I'm just like, oh no, what did I do? I'm like, am I ever going to get out of this like in between phase?
Yes.
Because there were definitely some dark days, especially over the past couple months, to where I'm just like, hang on a second, is there a light at the end of this tunnel? Can I actually do this? I think that's the biggest question that popped into my head is, am I physically at 39 years old able to complete all of this stuff? And then there were these little moments of just like the light at the end of the tunnel. And one of them was actually, because we go back and forth in messages on your Coach Now app. And I'm just like, man, I think I'm just frustrated. I'm lost. I don't know where to go with this right now. Like, I don't know what I need to do in order to improve. And you all of a sudden you're like, Matt, this is the best video you've sent me. Like, this is actually pretty damn good. And all of a sudden it was that little piece of verification as to, oh, the light at the end of the tunnel. And then more recently, actually over the past couple of days, it's been pretty cool because all of a sudden we've started tweaking some shoulder angles and so forth. And all of a sudden the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. And I was telling him off air before we got on, I'm like, today was actually the first day that like most shots started on my target line. And I'm just like, holy shit. That was the first time in a couple months that has happened. So I do wonder, because you have the psychology background, how do you deal with people that get frustrated through the process?
Sometimes carefully, sometimes firmly. It just depends on the person. But yeah, it's tough. Like in your case, I know we talked about it. It was like you grew up with this coaching dad.
Yeah.
My dad coached a lot. He was in sports, and it was like, look, and maybe it was a military background. It was like, look, whatever coach says, you do. You don't give them shit. You don't give them lip. Like, you come home and we can talk about it, but you do what coach says, right? And so some of that can hurt you a little bit in golf, because you have to own it and you have to believe in it. And if you're just saying yes because you're a yes man, it'll catch up to you later when the frustration kicks in, because the frustration must be there. Frustration is so important for development. The brain needs that to come up with solutions.
Yeah, you kept telling me that, and I'll be the first one to tell everybody that I'm like, it's a lot easier said than done, because I'm like, I'm going through those frustrations. Granted, I have you and I have a mental performance coach on top of that just works with me on mental stuff, and I'm just like, and both of you are saying the same thing. So I'm like, damn it, I have to go through this frustration. I can't remember if it was you or him who said it, but basically how it got said to me that really clicked, and I think it was you that said this, is that if you don't go through this frustration, then you don't know how tough it is to get to where you want to go, because these are the breaking points to where most people won't push through it
100%.
in order to get to that level.
100%. Yeah, it's not easy, and it shouldn't be. Like, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And everybody could do it. It's fucking hard.
I just thought I was talented, okay? I'm just like, hey, let's flick the switch back on. Let's get back after it. I mean, and then all of a sudden we start working, and I'm just like, man, I started feeling like I'm 39 years old when all of a sudden you start hitting balls on a daily basis, and you're hitting 150 to 300 golf balls, and all of a sudden you're working out in the morning, and then your body the next day is just absolutely destroyed. And I'm like, what the hell? I've been sitting in a chair too long. I mean, that's what I came to the conclusion of.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit. And now I'm finally starting to get back into a little bit of form. And not only that, but also like the physical activity, like next year as we move into 2024,
Yeah.
the physical activity is going to pick up even that much more.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. I mean, your brain's just trying to sort all this nonsense out because it's everything it did before it didn't have to think about. Just golf swing. Boom. As soon as you start changing patterns, you start changing what you do physically, all those things have to be processed before it spits out emotion, right? And in that means there's going to be some error. That means there's going to be some delay. And so, yeah, you'll see some glimpses when it works out, but it's not high-speed internet, right?
It's like dial-up right now. Yeah. And for all of you that don't know what dial-up internet is, it was this terrible time when we had to hook up our computers to the telephone line, and this crazy noise came through.
You can see AOL clicking through the different stages.
Out of control. AIM, Messenger, my God, back in the day. Go vintage, folks. Go look that up if you're under the age of 30, okay? But in addition to that, I mean, you also have some accolades. I mean, Golf Digest ranked you as one of the top 100 young instructors in the country.
Yeah.
You just got into the top list for the state of Arizona as an instructor. I mean, you're doing some good shit, my man.
Figure. Yeah, well, we were talking before. I'm like, I don't know who picks this list. It's awesome that they're cool about it, but I don't know where. Like I've been nominated for the young instructors a few times. I've submitted, every 2 years, I think. I've submitted when they've sent me surveys. Honestly, I have no idea. I know there's some nomination process, and I think it was like a 17-page response that I sent in. Obviously, maybe this year it was better than years past, or maybe everybody else sucked that much more that mine looked better. But I don't know. I have no contact with them or anything. So it's a cool honor. I'm obviously clearly I'm honored by that. But there's so many great coaches out there. Like. It's just it's cool to be a part of. And
don't be so humble here, because I'll say this. I'll be the first one to say that there might be a lot of good instructors that know technique and everything. There's not a lot of great golf instructors that are good golf coaches that actually understand the person that they're dealing with and works with them, rather than just trying to fit them into a box. I've talked with you about this, to where, like, going with the Butch Harmon Academy, absolutely, like, they personalized everything to you. Like, that was Butch's entire philosophy. Yeah. Andrew Getson is another one who comes to mind. But those are the two instructors that, in my mind, you're the closest to for your technique, and not technique, but how you go about working with the individual. I mean, you've talked about some stuff, too, that I'm just like, wow. In all my time, even researching and being an instructor, it's like there's some stuff that you've talked about with me that I'm like, wow, I never thought of that.
Like what?
Like hand pressure, like arm pressure, like the way you go about, and even finger pressure. Like, my bunker game is a hell of a lot better because of what we worked on with just the trigger finger, and that's the release of that bunker shot. It's like there's some cool things, and granted, I'm talking a little bit cryptic right now and talking about this stuff, but in working with Mike, if you guys are ever out in the Phoenix, Arizona area, make sure to get a lesson with Mike, because I'll be the first one to say, like, you'll at least learn some stuff in that process. That's pretty cool.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, even for the listeners that are just listening on the radio, like finger pressure, like if you've played baseball, football, anything where you're holding a ball and the pressures in each of your fingers are different, the ball's not going to come out the way you want. It's going to come out with some kind of awkward spin or in the wrong direction, right? So it's amazing how much, when I'm teaching, people have, Martin years ago, he'd call it dueling banjos, right? But where, you know, I had a guy 2 weeks ago, it was unbelievable. It's funny thing, you guys can all try this at home, but if you take two clubs, one in each hand, and try to make a backswing, your normal backswing, and swing through with one club in each hand, like if your hands are working, I'm thinking symbiotic, but in the same, working together, right? They'll be on a pretty similar plane, right? In sync.
I'm not talking about Justin Timberlake.
Hey, I was just watching Trolls with the Kids the other day. But yeah, they'll kind of work together. Well, I had this guy who was so crossed up like scissors on both sides that they were just fighting each other like crazy, and that's completely pressure in your hands, right? And so, yeah, it's amazing. Golf's such a funny thing. I've always thought it was interesting. It's like the only sport where we tell people not to use their hands.
It is weird because, I mean, you even got me at one point. This was before we went through all of our changes and stuff. Well, and we're still working through some changes, but before that, when we were just working on some touch and technique and stuff like that, you got me hitting draws and fades just based off of finger pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
that was pretty cool.
That was just a thumb.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because small enough swing, nothing's going to load vertically, so you can have the thumb pressure.
I did try that with the driver too. It got a little haywire.
You can't do it once the shaft gets vertical, but as long as it stays low, yeah, the thumb stays on top so it can leverage the shaft.
I was hitting some crafty shots.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy way to do it, right? But yeah, it's wild. I couldn't imagine a baseball player or basketball player that has bad hands, right? And so in golf, for some reason, we make the body so important that people think they don't need it. And I would say it's probably because tour players are talking and coaches of tour players are talking about how they use the body more. Well, they use the body more because they spent their entire childhood learning how their hands and arms work because they couldn't swing it otherwise. They couldn't control the face otherwise. So that stuff is automatic. Now they can start to use the bigger muscles to help guide where that goes, just like a pitcher would use their wind-up better to guide where their arm goes, right? So the body motion it has a little bit of power, but mostly it's there to direct the momentum of where the arms can go and not get in the way and mess up what they're doing, right? So that the basic motion of the hand and arm, like 90% of the people that I see have no clue what that's supposed to do, right? And so it can be trained. Sometimes it's just a matter of awareness. Like
that's what it was.
No
for
idea
me.
that each finger could, each pressure in each finger could affect the golf club.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, it's the simplest. If you're at home, the simplest thing. Imagine you had a towel in your hands and you're wringing it out. Like that would be equal pressure in both hands. I can't even tell you what I see. I see everything. So, but thumbs and index fingers, those are the killers. More than anything, squeezing with thumbs and index fingers, God, that's murderous.
Now we got to know, I mean, because you do these camps, right? And I feel like, do you see crazier things during the schools and camps versus like individual lessons?
Yep. Yeah, well, I was just trying to think if I had any individuals that were wild. You have a couple here and there, right?
I mean, but they got some balls to show up as an individual. But when they're all of a sudden in a school, there's some stuff that goes on.
I don't think it's a balls thing. I think it's like, so the golf school, it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's now Performance Golf's selling them, so the schools, I don't even know what they're running. It might be $3-4 grand for a golf school, okay? At Tour Striker. Who can leave, what 20, 30-year-old can leave their job Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pay $4,000,
Not many.
fly, get a hotel to come for a golf school, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's-
gonna say that's slim to none right
the
there.
majority of the people at a golf academy are 50 plus. A lot of them are retired. They've been sitting. Their bodies don't work well. They were great athletes as a kid, or they never played golf or any sport. You get a lot of people never played any sport and they think they should be at golf, right? Come over, and so I just see it's like a folded up lawn chair. You see so many things that are just unbelievable, right? But yeah, most of the awkward stuff is bodies that don't function in a way that would allow the club to function correctly. So there's not much you can do but work around. Right, and that's a hard. They'll come in and they'll say, "I know I'm not as in shape as I was," but sometimes it's hard to get them to accept that. There are workarounds I can do, but you can't actually do this right because your body won't.
It won't let you. Yeah.
Not only like would it hurt if you did it, but it's so tight that there's I don't know who came up with this, but form follows function, right? Like they literally can't move through that range of motion, and so you got to do something different. And so yeah, I've seen some pretty insane stuff. I joke with Martin and the guys on the staff, like the tour striker staff's awesome. Like Jim Waldron's been there before I got there. He's amazing. I think he took third at Worlds like 4 years ago. It's got like a 480-yard drive and competition, like unbelievable, right?
That's just
Brian
astronomical.
Payne just got on the best teachers in California. Martin's number 1 in Arizona. I think he's 7.
Yeah, he is.
And
He's
Aaron
number
was
7.
with me. He got me into. He's over in California. Aaron Olson. He's in Monterey. I think he's on their list. I'm sure of it. Courtney Mahon was there with us before. She's number 1 in Kansas. So she was the number 1. Like we've had an incredible, run through the stable, through the stable.
Stable.
Yeah, jeez.
It's like a horse stable. Yeah.
put in here.
I mean, that Bushwood, it is something, folks. Make sure to use Paul Hook as your promo code. Get that 10% off. Don't be paying full price as a listener.
Speaking of, let me see that Swampy's hat. That looks pretty nice.
Good old Swannies. That is my
This
Aaron.
is the hat you're talking about.
That's
huh?
my Aaron Rodgers hat right there.
This is nice.
Yeah, look at that. You got the magic mushrooms on there. You got.
The magic mud. Now, doesn't that make you think of Entourage right away?
Oh my God! Absolutely.
It's just the best.
Yeah. But I call it my Bufo Alvarius hat, the
That's
toad
cool.
venom. There's
Now-
no toads on it, though.
now
We
here's
got to
the
add a
thing.
toad onto that.
Is this supposed to be a visor when they have this sweat?
No,
filter.
that
What's
just makes
this
sure.
for?
So that's so that you don't get the stain across the front.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Okay. So the old men that just keep the cardboard in there, that takes place of, Grandpa keeps the
Oh,
cardboard.
yeah.
right in
No,
there.
that's just bad form.
I agree.
Yeah. That's like having plastic on your sofa.
Well, people are keeping the stickers on and all that,
Well, that got trendy there for a little while. I think with like the new era hats, you had to keep the gold sticker on.
Is that going away?
My God, I've never kept a sticker on a hat.
No, why would you use it?
It's ridiculous.
Okay. Good.
I mean, we're on the same page,
Cheers.
man. Yeah, I'm sorry if we offended anybody out there, but realistically, take the fucking sticker off, okay?
Please. Yeah, it's a new hat. Make it look nice.
And then the other one that's
Top off?
interesting, yeah, a little top off.
Okay.
Mike McDaniels, he's got the off-white shoes. I have a pair of off-white Jordans that I don't wear out often. But I will say that, oh, Jesus, okay, my God. Oh, you were looking at me for that? Okay. So the off-white Jordans, they had that, and it just kept sticking into my foot on the inside of the shoe, so I took it off. And I know a lot of sneakerheads are going to get real pissed off at me
Wait.
about
What
that.
was sticking in you?
So have you seen Mike McDaniels, the Dolphins head coach?
Yeah.
He's got those shoes with that red tag on it. That's like a
haven't
red
noticed
plastic.
the tag.
Oh, man, you're going to have to check it out the next time. He wears the off-whites, and he does it right. He's like, I'll lose entire street cred if I remove this, because even the refs came up to him. It looks like a tag, but it's plastic. It's like hard plastic.
But it comes up with the shoe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it hooks into like one of the shoelace holes. Okay, so it's supposed to just hang off the side of your
It's
shoe.
not the tag so that if you steal it,
No.
the siren goes off.
I mean, it's very similar.
Okay,
Like,
alright.
but it's red instead of like
Okay.
that beige. Why do I know what a security tag
No, I'm
looks
just
like?
loving
I don't
this.
know. But yeah, the off-white sneaker it's ridiculous. So I took it off, and I'm gonna lose a lot of street cred for that. But I don't like it, and
No,
so
I think
I might
you're
be in That's my version of the hat sticker. Okay,
Okay.
as sneakers.
Okay.
Don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I know what the mesh is for on the inside.
There you
'Cause
go.
as a kid, there might have been a time when that got pulled down as a little sunshade.
I'm not. Did you do that?
Pre-7. I might have
Did
done
you?
it.
Okay.
Pre-7.
All right, pre-7. I think you're okay pre-7 years old to go ahead and do that.
But eight's tough?
Eight's tough,
Okay.
man. That's a rough.
My son
slog.
asked me, I'm like, nah, keep it in, Matt.
No, you gotta
I don't
keep
know what it's
that.
for, but keep it there.
Yeah. It's
Gets you some shade.
it's a sweat shield is what it is, so that your hat doesn't get discolored on the front of it. But these Swanee hats, man, these things are nice. So, folks, once again, I know you've heard it a million times, but with Swanee's Golf, make sure to use Pull Hook Golf 25 at checkout to get 25% off your entire order. I did have a buddy that I played golf with the other day, by the way, to where he was wearing his Swanees, and it's the first time that I've seen him wear Swanees.
Okay.
He was being real coy about it, just kind of checking to see if I was seeing. I was like, man, that's a really nice Swanees hoodie. And he's like, yeah, you noticed? I was like, yeah, I did. I was like, you used the Pull Hook Golf 25 promo code? He's like, man, I got to be honest with you. He's like, well, then there you go again. He said, I got to be honest with you. He's like, the Black Friday sale. He's like, I got 50% off. I was like, oh, you son of a gun.
That's
I was
okay.
like,
so
but
he's in the door. He's got it.
He's
likes
got it.
Now he's going to get more.
he's got to get more.
Yes.
I mean, I'm seeing
It's a nice
everybody
hat.
now.
It's a
Everybody's
nice-
starting to
it's a nice
rock
hat.
the Swanees. I mean, they're in more golf shops here in Arizona than I've ever seen
They are.
before. Yeah.
Okay. So,
So,
I need to get some. is what you're saying.
You definitely need to
Okay.
use the promo code PullHookGolf25
Okay.
at checkout for 25% off your entire order. There you go. There's a nice little plug for Swanees.
Well played.
There will be the commercials that get put into this episode as well. But DryveBox, Bushwood, Swanees, I mean, we're starting to put it together here, folks, on the Pull Hook Golf podcast. Now, one other thing that I do want to ask you as we kind of wrap this all up is, on this podcast, I talk a lot about, and I love to end episodes with the topic of LIV Golf. And so this has nothing to do with you as a golf instructor. Take off the golf instructor hat. Come on over to the world of just golf talk and let me know. I mean, where are you at with the entire, with John Rahm leaving, LIV Golf? I mean, you've got now some guys like Louis Oosthuizen, Burmester, who are winning over on the DP World Tour in the off season, coming into the season. I mean, where are you at with LIV Golf right now? You a fan? You hate it? Never watched an event? Tell me about it.
Never have watched an event.
So,
No, here's the thing. The first event, I turned it on. Must have been on the internet. Because it wasn't on TV, right? Turned it on.
yeah, it was on
and, like,
YouTube.
everybody's playing at once. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. The scores are flashing down. And
It was fast
it
as
was
shit.
It was a lot. And maybe, I'm sure it's better. But it was a lot at the time. And I was just checking in on it. And it, if you played competitive golf, there's something to like knowing before you. There's something to knowing when I get to 15, 16, 17, that's going to be a tough stretch of holes. Something to knowing that in the middle of this round, there's a birdie run, right? Like when you're playing a shotgun, it's like, what?
Oh, so I don't
what
mean
the
to laugh,
hell are
folks.
you doing? Like, it's not even, that's not tournament golf. It's not. It's not tournament golf. Now, if I knew anyone or if I was offered the kind of money they're being offered, I would have zero loyalty to the PGA Tour.
Zero. I mean,
I couldn't do it. I appreciate everything that the tour is, and I know that the tour is what got them the opportunity to have that money, but maybe it's because I don't have it. But like,
no, I
are
mean,
you
if
kidding me?
anybody
These
gets
are
offered
generational-
$600
I mean,
million,
what- unbelievable.
it's unreal. I mean, DJ only got 300. I mean, that's...
it's so much. It's so much money to go play in a, I call it a scramble, but I mean, you're playing in a shotgun with music blasting for 3 rounds. Like what? I'm gonna go have fun to go get paid a bunch of money.
It's the waste management every
day,
single week.
Every week.
Yeah.
Every week. Yeah, like I
And I love
don't-
waste
I don't
management,
fault
by the way.
them
Open.
I don't fault them one bit. I don't. I don't watch it. I still, full disclosure, like, okay, I got a 10 and an 8-year-old. I got cartoons on all the time. I watch the majors. That's about all that I watch.
Which cartoon is on the most often in the Krahe household?
They've been switching it up a little, so time can depend a lot, and it's amazing the phases they'll go through. There's definitely been like full-on Disney phase with, I mean, you name it, Disney shows. Then we got Pokemon. That series had to go on for a while. Now the daughter's kind of getting into like the teen shows.
Okay.
Where it's like a little bit of Fresh Prince, Full House, kind of. I don't even know the name.
Is it the original Fresh Prince or
no,
the
she's
new
not
one?
Watching those, but it's like she's out of cartoons.
Okay.
She's watching like teenagers.
All right.
There's High School Musical stuff going on, Disney show. But you know, any of the Disney movies, we've got Disney Plus, so those could be rolling at any time. My daughter was into Bake Wars for a while.
Oh, wow.
Do you know Bake Wars?
I do. I don't know why I do, but I do.
Baking cakes. I never baked one, but
I mean, you feel like you could bake one.
it's tough. I had 2 years of foods in high school, right before lunch. Junior, senior year, I had foods. And I'll tell you, baking, it's a special personality type, and if we bring this full circle to golf, right? People are, whether you argue or not, they're type A or they're type B, right? And I am not an organized type A person. I'm very creative, out there, mindless. That's the way it is. For me to follow a recipe is a disaster. I'm like physically incapable of doing it. I love to cook. I grill. I cook all the time, but I will never bake, because if you put 5 grains of salt too much in a baking recipe, it doesn't come out right. Where everything else I make, it's a sprinkle here, it's a pinch there. Like, I'll make some intricate recipes, but they're not. I don't follow the letter of the law.
That's fair.
It's not in me. I can't do it. So when I watch these baking shows, there's a level of respect, because it's tough to not trailblaze your own mark on it, right? You got to just follow somebody's and blindly trust that they're right. Where I'm like, you know what? I like it a little sweeter. I gotta.
Yeah, you got to tweak it a little bit. It's like my mom.
There is no more Aunt Jemima.
Oh, there is not.
It's gone.
It is.
I don't even know what it's called, but I was watching a morning show, and then that came up, and then my daughter was pouring it the other day, and she goes, "Look, this is now Aunt Jemima." I'm like, oh my god,
there's no Aunt Jemima
know what
there
that
anymore.
means, but anyway,
my mom does the same thing with cooking. By the way, we always ask her, we're like, "Hey, Mom, what is the recipe for this?" And she'll go, "No idea. I cook it different every single time." We're like, "Damn, but it always comes out so good." She's like, "Just the way it is." So we've had to like film her making stuff in order to like start to get those recipes. Yeah.
So that being said, the person that follows the recipe has a much harder time with learning golf and changes, because they expect, if I put in A, I'm going to get B. And that's not the way golf is.
No, it really isn't. Luckily, I don't follow recipes either. I am a tweaker of everything when it comes to food, to where like I'm still perfecting. I mean, I make one hell of a steak on the grill, but I tweak it. I use different techniques in order to like figure out. I'm like, oh, okay, this one really turned out that well. Like I got my fillet down to where like that center is just going to be pretty pink. It's not going to be raw because of how tall it is or anything like that. But the top and bottom are going to be seared to where you got that nice little like solidness to it. I got it down.
Failed. Did any of those steaks come out poorly?
A shit ton.
A shit ton.
Yep.
Okay. So,
and that's my golf swing right now.
But that's like, people are not willing to understand that you have to try things.
You do.
And even if it's trying within boundaries from a coach, you have to push the limits, understand where that is, and then be able to have a reference point to move from there.
Yeah.
Like I always say, like this is anybody that's probably been in the military understands. But I remember when I was 16, my dad would take me out in the snow. Growing up in Flagstaff, actually I was 15. I wasn't even driving yet, and take me out in the snow. And the first thing you do is jerk the wheel on me. So I had to learn how to get out of this spin without overcorrecting and freaking out. Right. So
you got to turn into it.
Get out of a crash before I could even like drive. Right. So people do. I bet there's a handful of people that can purposely hit their biggest miss for me on purpose. right? So they're afraid of it. They don't even know what causes it, and they can't do it on purpose in practice. Right?
Yeah, I don't think I could do it in
right?
practice.
I could get into a spin on the snow in a car, no problem, right? So if you know how to make your miss on purpose, will it bother you if you know how to get out of it on the next ball?
It's valid.
Right? So there's too much time like golf swing and not enough like, this is going to happen. This is in my pattern. This is how I play. Like, I'm going to purposely miss on purpose. And then the very next ball, I'm going to correct the pattern. And now that doesn't control me anymore, right?
That's a good point. I mean, so would you say that you are somebody that promotes going and getting golf lessons?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Not because I'm in it, but because people suck at golf.
People are bad. I mean, there's a lot of bad golfers out there.
It's not an easy game.
And it's not your fault, folks. It's not your fault if you're bad. You gotta see somebody like Mike in order to get at least the structure and the foundation built.
It's tough because the face is offset from the shaft, right? You got a tennis racket, boom, it's right in line with your hand. You got a baseball bat, it's rounded. You can hit anywhere on the barrel. You got this golf shaft, and then you got a head that's coming out pointed at an angle offset from it, right? Like golf is not, and it's a little messed up. Like
it's a little messed up.
You play bent over with the fluid in your ears out of balance, with your eyes out of balance with the horizon. Like you're already screwed before you start. Right?
There's a reason why golfers drink.
There you go. So yeah, it's just see somebody get a little something. I mean, God, I think you sent me the show notes like a month ago, right? And it was one of the things was like, how has the internet and YouTube and Instagram like affected you?
Oh
right?
God, this was a topic I talked about with Streelman. Yeah,
it's like I just was talking with Martin Chuck about this. It's like I would say I am shocked if the first half of my lesson with anybody is not trying to undo what they've been trying to do from YouTube or from Instagram. And it's not to say that what anybody is putting out is wrong. That I don't know that I've ever actually seen anything that's incorrect. What I've seen is
true
things that don't apply to the person in front of me.
It's so true.
Is that fair?
It's so true.
And so, like, I got this guy last week. This guy last week, and he's doing this Gankus stuff, okay? And I haven't watched a ton of it, but I've watched enough because, like, when I watch YouTube, it's usually, like, I listen to a ton of podcasts, anything, the performance, psychology, sociology, golf, whatever. And then I watch YouTube when a player tells me that this is the person that they watch. So I have to know what they're watching, right?
Oh, no. Cool, so that's like a prerequisite thing now? Like, who are you watching on YouTube?
That's the first thing I'll ask them if they call me. Who do you watch? So I know what information you watch.
Yeah.
And so Gank is obviously incredible coach, right? He's helping tons of people. But
not really helping Matthew Wolf.
I get a lot of people that come and they're downswing, double knee, external rotation in a squat. Butt way back, chest way down, right elbow in external rotation, way in front. Like, this guy came in and literally, like, his butt is back 4 inches, his head is 4 inches lower.
No.
His right elbow is almost to the ball before his right wrist.
Oh, no.
And he's, like, literally swinging 95 miles an hour and hitting shots that are just straight right. Like, I don't even know how they go that far right without hitting a hosel. And I'm trying to just get him everything I can to expand everything. And he's like, his brain is like, well, George, like, he's like, I'm like,
dude,
I don't get it. I need this lead. And I'm like, have you been watching Gankus? That's what,
yeah,
that's all I've been doing.
Oh, man.
I'm like, you were awesome. Instead of taking a pill of Advil, you took the whole bottle, which is most people, right? Like, that overdo it, right? He overdosed big time. So the whole week was like just trying to get everything you could imagine out of a slicer, like,
oh my
expand your arms early, like I'm shoving his butt, trying to get him to early extend, like everything opposite that you would watch. I'm trying to get him to do, and that I know that wasn't Gankus's intention, like, to do that, right? He's just trying to
make some money.
That's why, like, I had this again, same conversation with Martin. Like, I have a hard time putting out a lot of videos because I know that whatever I say is going to be, it's going to screw somebody. I got to piss really bad, so we
Me
need
too.
to wrap this up.
My God.
So this was super fun.
You topped it off way too much. Tourstriker.com?
Tourstriker.com.
Where do we find you, Mike Krahe?
Tourstriker.com, Tourstriker Golf Academy. There's a link.
What's
on
the
there.
Instagram account handle?
Psych Mike Golf.
Psych Mike Golf.
Psych Mike Golf.
Find him, hit him up, get a
I might
lesson.
get over 700.
Folks, thank you so much.
Yeah, this is fun. Thanks, buddy.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more information.